Welcome to Sociology Vibes, where we simplify challenging ideas into easy to understand insights. Today, our focus is on the sociological explanations of historical racism and cultural racism. So let's begin. Historical racism refers to the laws, policies, and systems that intentionally and overtly discriminated against people based on race and ethnicity. Discrimination was written into law, taught in schools, and even justified through false science. Indigenous people faced centuries of government policies aimed at removing them from their land and erasing their cultures. The Indian Removal Act of 1830 and the Dawes Act of 1887 forced them from their lands and broke up tribal territories, while boarding school laws sought to erase their languages and cultures in the name of assimilation. During American colonialism and until after the Civil War, slavery was legally protected through laws that defined Africans and their descendants as property. The system of chattel slavery forced millions to work on plantations growing crops like tobacco, cotton, and sugar, and it created the economic and racial foundations of inequality in the United States. Jim Crow laws, enforced mainly in the southern United States from the late 1800s to the 1960s, legally separated Black and white people in public spaces such as schools, buses, and restaurants, reinforcing racial inequality by denying Black Americans equal access to education, employment, housing, and political participation. Immigration bans, such as the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, legally restricted or excluded certain nationalities, excluding Chinese laborers from entering the United States and denying them the right to become citizens, establishing a precedent for race and nationality-based immigration policy. During World War II, the U.S. government forcibly removed and incarcerated approximately 120,000 Japanese Americans, many of them citizens, under Executive Order 9066, confining them in internment camps without due process or individual evidence of wrongdoing. During the Great Depression, over 1 million people of Mexican descent, including many U.S. citizens, were deported as part of the Mexican Repatriation Act. Between 1942 and 1964, under the Bracero program, which temporarily brought to the U.S. Mexican laborers under harsh and unequal conditions, including being exposed routinely to toxic chemicals, while Operation Wetback in 1954 deported hundreds of thousands more. People from Latin America faced segregation in schools, neighborhoods, and public facilities across the Southwest, reflecting the racial social hierarchy in American society. The eugenics movement was based on pseudoscience, or a false belief that human traits like intelligence or morality were inherited, and that some groups, specifically white Northern Europeans, were genetically superior. Sterilization laws in more than 30 U.S. states, and starting in 1907, allowed the government to forcibly sterilize people labeled as quote-unquote unfit to reproduce, disproportionately affecting women, and included people with disabilities, mental illness, those living in poverty and in prisons, and Indigenous, Black, and Latina women. Some states like California carried out thousands of procedures that continued into the late 1970s, particularly against women of color. This practice continued beyond this period in prisons. Anti-miscegenation laws in the U.S., enforced from the colonial period until 1967, made it illegal for people of different races to marry or have relationships, reinforcing racial segregation until the Supreme Court struck them down in the ruling called Loving versus Virginia. Redlining began in the 1930s when the U.S. government's Homeowners Loan Corporation, or HOLC, made maps that outlined Black, immigrant, and low-income neighborhoods in red, marking them as risky for loans. Banks denied mortgages to people in these areas for decades, especially through the 1940s to the 1960s, which further contributed to segregated communities and neighborhoods that continue to this day. It wasn't until the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1960s that racist laws and policies were challenged and overturned, although racism and inequality continue to exist in various forms today. Now, cultural racism happens when the dominant cultural values, languages, and way of life are threatened as quote unquote right or normal standard, and anyone who doesn't match that standard is seen as less capable or less deserving. In American culture, this can appear in subtle ways, like when speaking English with an accent is viewed as less than, or when textbooks and media mostly highlight white Western traditions. Stereotypes maintain a sense of cultural superiority. Instead of saying someone is inferior because of their race, cultural racism might suggest they don't work hard enough, don't fit in, or don't share the right values. It shifts attention away from unfair societal systems and places blame on individuals or communities. Cultural racism reinforces the idea that one group's way of life is the standard everyone else is measured against. Historical and cultural racism helps us see how racism persists and changes form over time. Even though many overtly discriminatory laws have ended, their consequences still endure from one generation to the next and influence wealth disparities, who receives opportunities, and even representation. Challenging racism today includes questioning the everyday norms, assumptions, and societal messages that continue to define whose voices and experiences matter most. And this makes sociology worth exploring further, don't you think? Thank you for watching. Be sure to comment below with your thoughts, questions, or any topics you'd like us to explore next. Let's keep the conversation going and our community growing. See you in the next Sociology Vibes video.